Good evening, Rob. It is Friday, October 13th, and it's my Friday, and it's a lit Friday, and I will be reading you an excerpt from the David Sedaris short story, Old Faithful. I needed a boyfriend as conventional as I was, and luckily I found one. Just met him one evening through a mutual friend. I was 33 and Hugh had just turned 30. Like me, he had recently broken up with someone and had moved to New York to start over. His former boyfriend had been a lot like mine, and we spent our first few weeks comparing notes. Did he ever say he was going out for a hamburger and then hook up with someone else he'd met that afternoon on a bus? Yes! He had a few practical things in common as well. But what really brought Hugh and me together was our mutual fear of abandonment and group sex. It was a foundation, and we built on it, adding our fear of AIDS and pierced nipples, of commitment ceremonies and the loss of self-control. In dreams, sometimes I'll discover a handsome stranger waiting in my hotel room. He's usually someone I've seen earlier that day, on the street or in a television commercial, and now he's naked and beckoning me toward the bed. I look at my key, convinced that I have the wrong room, and when he springs forward and reaches for my zipper, I run for the door, which is inevitably made of snakes or hot tar, one of those maddening, hard-to-clean building materials so often used in dreams. The handle moves this way and that, and while struggling to grab it, I stammer an explanation as to why I can't go through with this. I have a boyfriend, see, and well, the thing is that he'd kill me if he ever found out I'd been, unfaithful or anything. Really, though, it's not the fear of Hugh's punishment that stops me. I remember once riding in the car with my dad. I was 12, and it was just the two of us, coming home from the bank. We'd been silent for blocks, when out of nowhere he turned to me and said, "I want you to know that I've never once cheated on your mother." Okay, I said, and then he turned on the radio and listened to a football game. Years later, I mentioned this incident to a friend who speculated that my father had said this specifically because he had been unfaithful. That was a guilty conscience talking, she said, but I knew that she was wrong. More likely, my father was having some problem at work and needed to remind himself that he was not completely worthless. It sounds like something you'd read on a movie poster, but sometimes the sins you haven't committed are all you have to hold on to. If you're really desperate, you might find yourself groping, saying, for example, "I've never killed anyone with a hammer," or "I've never stolen from anyone who didn't deserve it." But whatever his faults, my dad did not have to stoop quite that low. I have never cheated on a boyfriend, and, as with my father, it's become part of my idea of myself. In my full wet dreams I can glimpse at what my life would have been like without my perfect record, of how lost I'd feel without the scrap of integrity, and the fear is enough to wake me up. Once I'm awake, though, I tend to lie there, wondering if I've made a terrible mistake. In books and movies, infidelity always looks so compelling, so right. Here are people who defy petty convention and are rewarded with only the tastiest bits of human experience. Never do they grow old or suffer the crippling panic I feel whenever Hugh gets spontaneous and suggests we go to a restaurant. A restaurant? But what will we talk about? I don't know, he'll say. What does it matter? Alone together, I enjoy our companionable silence, but it creeps me out to sit in public, propped in our chairs like a pair of mummies. At a nearby table there's always a couple in their late 70s blinking at their menus from behind thick glasses. "Soup's a good thing," the wife will say, and the man will nod or grunt or fool with the stem of his wineglass. Eventually he'll look my way, and I'll catch his eye. One, two, three. "Soup's a good thing," the wife will say, and the man will nod or grunt or fool with the stem of his wineglass. Eventually he'll look my way, and I'll catch in his eyes a look of grim recognition. "We are your future," he seems to say. "Get used to it." I'm so afraid that Hugh and I won't have anything to talk about that now, before leaving home, I'll comb the papers and jot down one, two, three. I'm so afraid that Hugh and I won't have anything to talk about that now, before leaving home, I'll comb the papers and jot down half a dozen topics that might keep a conversation going at least through the entrees. The last time we ate out, I prepared a reading. Two, three. The last time we ate out, I prepared by reading both the Herald Tribune and the Animal Finder's Guide, a publication devoted to exotic pets and the nuts who keep them. The waiter took our orders, and as he walked away, I turned to Hugh, saying, "So anyway, I hear that monkeys can really become surly once they reach their breeding age." "Well, I could have told you that," he said. "It happened with my own monkey." I tried to draw him out, but it saddens Hugh to discuss his childhood monkey. "Oh, Maxwell," he'll sigh, and within a minute he'll have started crying. Next on my list were the 5 warning signs of depression among captive camels, but I couldn't read my handwriting, and the topic crashed and burned after sign number 2, an unwillingness to cush. At a nearby table an elderly woman arranged and rearranged the napkin in her lap. Her husband stared at a potted plant, and I resorted to the Herald Tribune. "Did you hear about those 3 Indian women who were burned as witches?" "What?" "Neighbors accused them of casting spells and burned them alive." "Well, that's horrible," he said, slightly accusatory, as if I myself had a hand in it. "You can't go around burning people alive, not in this day and age." "I know it, but it's sick is what it is. I remember once when I was living in Somalia, there was this woman." "Yes," I whispered, and I looked over at the elderly couple thinking, "See, we're talking about witch burnings." It's work, though, and it's always my work. If left up to Hugh, we'd just sit there acting like what we are. 2 people so familiar with one another they could scream. Sometimes, when I find it hard to sleep, I'll think of when we first met, of the newness of each other's body, and my impatience to know everything about this person. Looking back, I should have taken it more slowly, measured him out over the course of 50 years, rather than cramming him in so quickly. By the end of our first month together, he'd been so thoroughly interrogated that all I had left was breaking news, what little had happened in the few hours since I had last seen him. Were he a cop or an emergency room doctor, there might have been a lot to catch up on, but, like me, Hugh works alone, so there was never much to report. "I ate some potato chips," he might say, to which I'd reply, "What kind?" or, "That's funny, so did I." More often than not, we just breathe into our separate receivers. "Are you still there?" "I'm here." "Good. Don't hang up." "I won't." "Rob, I'm really sorry, but no punishment today. I'm going home this weekend, so maybe I could like dance in my room and not have it be weird. I'll see you on Monday."